I'm Charlie Schmidt. I live right here in beautiful Spokane, and I'm an artist. If I came from another planet and someone showed me all around the world, all the occupations, all the continents, and said, what would you like to be if you were going to be here for a while? I would say an American artist. I think I sort of had an aptitude for art. My little radish story illustrates this, that a radish seed knows how to become a beautiful radish without going to college or taking antidepressants or going to church or getting counseling or anything. It just knows how. So I contend that people have that too, that something's in there that we just know how to do, and we don't need to be taught it, we just need to identify it and be it. And I think that was in there somehow, this art thing. Like I say, my family wasn't particularly artistic. I went to Gonzaga Prep. They didn't even have art. For 4 years, I had zero art. In fact, when I drew, I got in trouble. I got hacks for drawing. But I kept doing it. My sister was going with this guy named Tom Little, and he was like an artist. And he's not anymore. I don't know what he does, but then he really was an artist, and I spent a lot of time with him, and we were good buddies. I was just a kid, and he was older. He watered that art seed in me, and it wasn't getting watered any other way, but he did, and it's like, it sprouted. In the early 80s, 84, I guess that's the middle 80s, I got a video camera, and I really didn't deserve it because it cost a lot, and other people paid for it, and I ended up with it, and I had to pay it off. But I had this video camera, and I was just making videos. I didn't have a job, and I mean, my house was really cold. It was winter, and the toilet was frozen, literally. There was, like, you get ice skate on there if you were a little guy. But I was making these videos, like, for no reason at all, because, I mean, maybe if I lived in LA, someone would want them, but in Spokane, the chances of somebody wanting a video like the kind I were making is real skinny. 2 of these videos that I made then turned out to be what I do with my life, but it would happen during this golden week back then. One of them was this thing I did with my nose, just improvised it, as well as the one with the cat. We shot those almost the same day. My friend Richard Tweet and he bought an expensive camera. Richard bought this really expensive camera, an edit deck, and his wife was really mad. So she liked me, so he asked me if I would come over a few nights a week and make some videos with him, and then Kathy would think that his purchase was good. And so I did, and one of the very first nights, we're just making stuff up. We didn't have an agenda or a script or anything. We had a camera and a light. I had brought a blaster with me, and it was playing the theme from Love Boat, love, exciting and new. And it was just playing, and I'd seen the show a lot of times. Warhol was on it once. And I just started moving my nose to the beat of the music while I mouthed the words, because I'm a drummer, so I can sort of move my hands and my mouth at the same time. And that just happened. We entered it into a funny video contest at a local TV station, and we won first prize, and later we found out we were the only entry, but we still won first. And we won free video rentals in Coeur d'Alene, which we didn't take advantage of, and they said they'd send our tape to a Hollywood producer. So we were ready to quit our jobs, but no, really, we just thought it was hilarious, and it was great. And then when that started like dying down, this cat thing took off because YouTube came around. If it was keyboard dog, well, there wouldn't be as much cat pee on the rug, I'll tell you that. It would be different in that dogs and cats have a different aura, a different spirit, a different ilk. The internet is random, and my kind of art wants to be random. I like seeing what happens when you have some controlled accidents and you take advantage of them, rather than you just try and make what you wanted originally happen. Dogs are not as random. This whole random thing is, cats are unpredictable. I don't know on a daily basis when I get a job what's going to happen, because he's a cat, and that makes it different. Bento, my friend the keyboard cat, was a pound cat, and we picked him up as a gesture of love and as a reincarnation of the real keyboard cat who died in the early 90s. The original video was shot in the early 80s, and so by the time it got famous, he was a goner. Then he started getting work, so I thought I better get another cat, and Bento was the cat. Oh, fame has affected my cat in many ways. Look at him. That's his life. He just sits there. Bento! Hey! Snap out of it.
How do they make Starburst taste so juicy?
The Juicy Dragon? They show funny videos to a giggly dragon. They laugh so hard that he cries super juicy tears, and they put him in the Starburst. You didn't know that? Everybody knows that.
A juicy dragon?
When we got him from the pound, we didn't know it, but he was pretty sick. And I started making videos with him and then getting jobs, and we got a big job from Microsoft with him, and then he had one coming up for Wonderful Pistachios, but he was sick, and really sick, and so it was really hard and cost a ton of money to save him, and so that sort of changed his life, because he had one. And then when he started getting really famous, he just started at first just like laying around and just going through bags of catnip like it was nothing and drinking beers and stuff. Bento. Bento, we gotta talk, man. You got a serious problem. All you do is huff catnip all day, hit the jug. It ain't right. You can't even hold your head up anymore. This is embarrassing. But now he's come down to earth again. He's been in rehab a couple of times, and he's pretty good. Now we're just friends, and he doesn't take advantage of his fame, and so we're good. We've helped each other immensely. Years ago, it was my wife's idea, and I had a weird little animated toy and one of these stuffed cats. And she said, you should take the skin off that cat and put it on this guy and give him a little piano. So I designed the box and made it like it really existed. And then it doesn't even play the right song. It plays, look at, I mean, it's rough. And it plays, what is that? Limbo rock. So it's just completely wrong, but I made a video and put the right music to it and put it online, and like, it's almost up to 1 million hits, and about every third one was somebody wanted to order it. So we looked for a company to make it. That was hard, really hard, without getting ripped off. So then the company, Think Geek, they contacted us and said they'd take 5 cases, and we said, well, we don't even have any. And they went, what? How could it be? We saw it. So they couldn't get them, and then a few months later, they contacted us and said, if you still don't have anybody to make them, we'll do it. They did a much better job. I mean, look at this guy, looks like he's on like meth. Doesn't he? Look at him. He's like a neurotic bad cat. Jay Leno, I was on that show 3 times actually. And this was the first time, and then this is the second time. I was married and had Sydney. Look at the color of his hair changed just a little there. I was on a show in Hungary, Budapest, Hungary, with Meatloaf. He was the only other American on the show. So we partied. We stayed in the same hotel. We partied. He's just the coolest guy. I have another picture. Here he was after I did my act, and he came over and just went, that was really cool. Robert Crumb, he's major. He's Museum of Modern Art. He came to town and to do a lecture series, and the guy who was supposed to put him up, his house was under construction, so they said, can he stay with you? And I said, okay. So he stayed with me for 4 days. And it was in the loony bin where his sister was, and it was in an elevator, and I was an inmate of the place. See, I'm wearing kind of like a nightshirt, like a patient in a hospital, and he and I were riding in this elevator, and when we're going up, he's dressed like that, and I'm like this, and I'm just really giving him the stink eye. And I say a couple things to him, and then he kind of smiles and goes out. And it was really, everyone was cracking up. Well, you guys know this guy, Scumbag Steve. You know, the way that happened was somebody just lifted a picture from his Facebook page and started writing crap on it and like ruined his life. He was like really depressed over it because everyone would look at him and go, "You're that guy," and he wasn't getting a penny for it, and he was a scumbag. And so my manager got a hold of him, and then they started doing these really high production value rap videos because he's a rapper. Every Thursday they dropped a new music video, and they were like killer. And so all of a sudden, people see Scumbag Steve, and he's a real guy, and he's a good musician. And so it just went totally viral. I don't think the world of art will really change, because I think some people just are born to be artists, and they want to experiment, and they want to help, and they want to see what happens. They're curious. They're just curious. The tools may change. I mean, when the guys did cave paintings, they had some pigments, and now you got cameras and phones and the internet and spray paint. I mean, spray paint's pretty cool. And so I think no matter what tools come up, the spirit will be the same, and that some of it will be mainstream, and most people will go, "Oh my gosh, it's wonderful," and some of it will be fringy and really cool, and it will be difficult. And that's, I don't think those things are going to change. All of Warhol's stuff, but in particular the Soup Can series, really impresses me as being an outstanding form of modern art, because he simply changed the context of something and made a huge thing happen. If you got to get into your house by tearing off sheets of plywood and cutting holes with chainsaws, that's a lot of work. But if you can just, the guy that figured out you just put a key in there and turn it and you get in, now that's good. It takes less. And Warhol was able to just carry literally a can of soup from the A&P market to the Leo Castelli gallery and just rock the world. So it was probably the single most monumental thing, I think, in modern art for me. Andy Warhol, Thich Nhat Hanh, Andy Kaufman, the Ramones. That's really one of my favorite posters. Warhol, because he was so ahead of his time, and he really understood how to think way out of the box on using media and the news and pop culture to give people a look at themselves, which they found mighty entertaining, and he was just clever at that. He said the movie camera was so much easier than painting, because he said you just turn it on. Thich Nhat Hanh, because his philosophy of life, it's very Buddhist, is just, it's the whole story. I mean, if everyone read Thich Nhat Hanh, the place would be better. Andy Kaufman had such an effect on me because he could do very little and get a huge response, kind of like Warhol. I mean, his one where he's doing the Superman song, "Here I come to save the day." For most of his performance, he's doing nothing, and that's the funniest thing in the world. So I like to see how little I can do and how fast I can do it and how far it can go. Going full blast is a big deal for me. You get different work if you go full blast. Even if you screw up, you get different work. It's sort of like if everything is just right and all your tools are there and the place is warm and you're having a good day and you feel good and the bills are paid and everything, and you're good at what you're doing, then you turn out something called craftsmanship. And this is good, people like it. But when you're not feeling good and the bills aren't paid and you don't quite have the materials you need and you do it anyway, full blast, that's how you get style. I have a friend in New York who's an art dealer, and I asked him, what should I do? And he said, forget cats for a while and do something else. He said, you do good paintings of people that are not very likable. And I didn't even know that I had ever done a good painting, let alone one of somebody that was likable. So I figured from that I might experiment with doing bad drawings of bad people. And now this, to me, is a bad painting. It's just hideous. But that it's Lyndon Johnson, it's good, because why would a guy like me have a painting, even want a painting of Lyndon Johnson? You know, I'm not proud of it, but you see that right there? I shot him with my BB gun. I was so sure he killed Kennedy that it was in my bedroom once. I was laying on my bed and my BB gun, I just went. So then I also did, you guys will like this, I did Lee Harvey Oswald. And it just turned out that it was the week that then all this stuff is on TV. Yeah. So I put these online, and then people are going, wow, great timing, you know. It was an accident. And then I did Dick Cheney. And that's probably my favorite one. And then I did a drawing of the guy who told me to do bad drawing. So just doing stuff with my free time. And when you have free time, instead of worrying about that there's nothing to do or you don't have a customer, just start doing junk. And then you have stuff. You can't argue with your scrapbook. That's an important one. That's a Warhol line. You can't argue with your scrapbook. So make it as good as you can. My experimental sensibility affects everything I do. It isn't like my art's here and my family's here and my job is here and my security is here. It's just one big circle, and they all fit in there and hopefully turn smoothly. And so for me, my hair, the hair on my head, is another medium to experiment with. So I'm always doing different things with it. It'll grow back, and I get a response with it. You know, sometimes I can weed out people that probably I shouldn't be talking to with the way that I look. Some people have natural things that may make them less likely to succeed. And so I kind of like to impose a few on myself and then just see how people respond. Well, I love street art. Again, it's more random. You know, to me, anything, anywhere, has got a better chance than art in a gallery, because art in a gallery is concise and predicted and approved by the curator and framed and polished and you know. So stuff that just happens interests me a lot more. I mean, I've always said I can look at the shelves of a grocery store and be way more entertained than most art galleries, for real. The street artists, you know, Banksy and Shep Ferry, I think those guys are just terrific, because it's not vandalism. I mean, they're not trying to, you know, put people down. They're just trying to express themselves, and they get it out there. It's sort of like the internet of the street. You get it out there, and I'm just crazy about it. I'm a big Banksy fan. In fact, I did, you know, Banksy has that documentary called Exit Through the Gift Shop. So I liked it so much, I did a parody on it called Exit Through the Pet Shop. You know, if the police around here weren't shooting people as much, I'd be tagging all over. It's like anything. If you tag to harm and to make the campground worse than when you got there, then I don't approve of it. But if you're doing it because it's something you love and you want to share, I wouldn't be doing it across the front of someone's store. But there are a lot of places, obviously, that it can be done. And so the only thing makes it different is your motives. If a gang's doing it to make sure that some other gang knows that if they come there they're going to get their butt kicked, then I don't like it. But if somebody's, you know, like Banksy is putting up, you know, pictures of rats climbing under things, and I mean just weird contextual stuff, I just love it. I'm part of the youth culture. And I just find it super exciting, because most old people get really tired and they just don't do stuff anymore. I had about a grill last week. So I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm 62 and I'm going faster than I did when I was 20. I was a kid in the 60s, 50s and 60s, and in the late 60s I was going to college, and it was really a youth movement. I mean, we were protesting the war in Vietnam, and I was a hippie. And we were against everything that was bad, and I never even knew you could be, you know, the way I was raised. So I really identified with that, and that's my core. While I'm doing stuff now, I'm listening to the music that I listened to then, and doing the same stuff that I was motivated to do then. Today's youth, I mean, it's like anything. It's good and bad. Everything is good and bad. I mean, a hammer can build a house or crack your head open. So some of the youth today is, I think, just whacked and lazy and stupid and wrong, just like adults. And some of the youth are on fire, and it's exciting, because if you have talent and you have morals at the same time, you can help the place. I would tell all students to identify what you love to do and do it full blast every day, at least some. People who put off, they know what they love to do, but they put it off until they have extra time or extra money. You might get hit by a bus and then you never get to do it. Do what you love full blast, at least a little every day, and do it for the good of man. The reason I do anything is the reason I hope anybody does anything, and that's to make this a better place and to make people feel better. So I do that through videos and art, and I just naturally want people to feel good, and I make art, so that's it. If I cooked, I'd want to make people feel better with my chicken pot pie.